Welcome to the greater world, the Providence City Council Charter Review Commission. It is March 30th, 2022. I'm going to begin this meeting. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Chairman Johnny Diaz,
Present.
Vice Chairman Oscar Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Carmen Castillo,
Present.
Commissioner Brian Principe,
Present.
Commissioner Nina Pandey is absent, Commissioner Matthew McCleary he is absent, Commissioner Tiana Ochoa is absent, Commissioner Robert Ritchie,
Present.
Commissioner Dr. Wayne Montague.
Present.
We have 6 present and 3 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome, everybody. I'll let the record reflect that Deputy Solicitor Ken Chiaverini is present, as well as Councilman Helen Anthony is present, and also our scrivener Sean Bouchard. So with that, we have first article, which is Article 10, up item number 1, entitled City Departments, Section 1003, Board of Park Commissioners. First of all, do we have any handouts or any exhibits to be added?
Yes,
Okay.
you have the recommended change and also the Board of Park Commissioner minutes.
So this is first. So if we could, let's enter into the record, will be exhibit what?
It will be
Michelle, do you
12.
mind if I? Or should I not?
You want to mute? Oh, you mind, okay, great. The exhibit 12, okay? So we have a 5-page exhibit entitled Memo to the Board of Parks Commissioners, and also attaches the Board of Parks Commissioners regular meeting minutes dated March 3rd, 2022. Can we enter the record as exhibit 12? as a
Mr.
motion?
Chairman, I make a motion to enter it in the record as exhibit 12.
Commissioner,
Second.
does that second by Commissioner Dr. Montague? Discussion. Second by Commissioner Castillo. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So I believe we had the Superintendent of Parks online. So shall we have her come on and walk us through this?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Superintendent. How are you?
Sorry, I'm offline here. I'm at a personal appointment, so I'm joining you virtually.
That's great.
So,
It's great. You do such a great job. It can be live or virtually. You know you're doing a great job. So
thank you so much. So
you want to walk us through your proposed changes?
Yeah,
Wanna do that, or-
absolutely. Our changes are really minimal, and they were approved by the Board of Park Commissioners at the last minute. And really, they're for clarity. There's no real essential change to the charter, just clarifying that the Parks Department doesn't take care of public property, recreation property associated with recreation centers or school department property. This has been the case for many, many years, and we don't have authorization, nor does the park commissioners have authorization over any of those areas. So we just wanted to clarify the scope of work of the Board of Park Commissioners.
Okay, so I'll go into the record. It looks like when you look at Exhibit 12, Article 10, Section 1003, it looks like what they're looking to do is have it changed from there shall be a Board of Park Commissioners which shall have jurisdiction over all green spaces of the city, comma, and strike out all, and then add identified as public parks. And then it looks like, and all property within their bounds, parentheses, including but not limited to buildings, comma, structures, commas, amenities, and roads, those parentheses, including Roger Williams Park and Zoo, and crossing out Roger Williams Park Museum. Then it says the North Burial Ground, the city-owned or controlled cemeteries, comma, adding the word outdoor public recreational areas of all types, excluding those on or adjacent to school property, and excluding indoor recreational centers and their grounds. So you're looking to clarify. I just have a question. Roger Williams Park Museum, did you strike that out because it falls within the general definition now, limited building
That is-
structures and.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So it's not that Roger Williams It's not that Roger Williams Park Museum is no longer going to be controlled by you folks. It's going, just that you don't have to identify it. It's in that term of building structures and amenities. Okay.
Yes, correct. There are 13 buildings in Roger Williams Park that are under our control. It's in addition to all of the ones in the zoo. And so other than naming them all, we just named generally buildings.
Because you may build new buildings, right? May add buildings,
Correct. Yes. Hopefully
Okay,
we
great.
will. Yes.
So let me ask, can you help explain a little clarification on why you identify outdoor public recreational areas and versus indoor recreational centers and grounds? Can you explain why that's the case? What you're looking for, why you want to do that?
That was to make the distinction between the property that recreation centers has purview over rather than parks. So currently there are not any indoor recreation areas that we that are under our under the Board of Parks Commissioners authority. Unless people go bowling in the casino or something like that, but generally speaking, those are all with the Department of Recreation.
So in your case, you just want to differentiate between the recreational centers, correct?
Correct.
So the only thing, the only point of concern I have is, I don't have a problem doing that, but I'm wondering for example, if someone thinks about, you mentioned the botanical gardens, you could, because what happens is no definition of what a recreational center is. The question is, does that, I'll look to Ken Chevron, the solicitor. I understand what the superintendent wants to do, which is kind of delineate between Parks Department, Recreational Department, and the facilities they choose. Does this change do that? Or do we create a scenario where someone could say, well, the botanical gardens is an indoor recreational center potentially, because we don't define what recreation is, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I know we think, oh, it's basketball or, gym or something like that, but someone could say, well, I'm in a facility and whatever, it's smelling flowers, it's a recreational. I'm just wondering, do we get caught up in that? You think we're fine? So I'm gonna look to the law department just to make sure, because I think that's what she wants to do. I just want to make sure we achieve it, that's all. The commission's fine with that.
Yeah, well, I have a question.
Sure. So is that something that you can look into, just make sure if it's written how the superintendent wants it to be intended? That's all I ask.
Absolutely, I will. And I think it gets to where the superintendent wants to be with the language, but I will review it again and I'll circle back with the superintendent.
Now I have Commissioner Ritchie. Has
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Superintendent Nielsen, will these changes result in any areas you're now maintaining being transferred to the school department or to the recreation department, or to public property or somewhere else?
Let me make sure I understood the question correctly. Are there any areas that we want to or should transfer to the school department or the recreation department?
As a result of the changes to the charter, will you no longer be maintaining certain areas in an attempt to transfer them to other departments?
No, it'll have no impact whatsoever on our current operations.
Then why the need for the changes?
Because if somebody was to come in and read the charter without understanding fully what the Parks Department does, it reads right now that we have responsibility of all school property and all recreation areas, but we do not. We can't make hours for the school department. We can't, go on their property and determine what rules are going to be there or how that area is going to be maintained or what have you. So we don't have that authority to do that. But the charter, the way it is written now, which reflects, I think, the way the case was about 30 years ago, before that change was made, but the change was never made in the charter.
Will these changes be accomplished through an intra-city agreement amongst all the departments without doing it in the charter?
I think it just needs to be clear what the purview of the Parks Department is under the Board of Park Commissioners. And, again, they don't have any authority over these areas.
Okay. All right, I understand. Thank you.
If
Thank
I
you.
may weigh- if I may weigh in on that, answer to your question. In the past, there's been this constant battle over the years, decades, where, parks, recreation, this and that, and it always gets this ambiguity. And I think what happens, and we've changed, like in the budget, saying, okay, this is gonna go to parks. So we have to keep on delineating back and forth, and I've seen administrators, okay, we're gonna flip it back to parks, we're gonna flip it back to recreation. They go, so I think what it is you can do it by ordinance and you can do it by like a policy, but it's always subject to constant change. So I think superintendent, I know, and Board of Parks Commissioner is just trying to get some stability and say, okay, this is what it is, parameters. So if you really want to change it, you can't just simply do it.
Well, they're the best in the city probably, so they're called on. to
Yeah,
do a lot more
exactly,
than
yeah.
without, I understand,
Yeah,
but I'm also concerned, Mr. Chairman, about.
but I'm saying, I understand, that's the rationale why I put in the chart. That's what, if I'm misspeaking, please let
We're
me
doing a
know.
lot of stuff in this, a lot of changes that haven't voted and we haven't gotten there yet. But as we spoke before, we can only put so much before the voters.
Right.
And so we're gonna have to have, I don't know if this can go into the general provision changes, because it's sort of the intent of this to begin with. That's something to think about.
Well, I think what it is, we can talk, when we talk to the city solicitor,
Yeah,
and then maybe they can help us with that guidance on certain things, can go into the general thing, can go into, we get,
we
really
have to have a
focus
separate
there.
thing on this
Yeah.
section in Fox, so can we just put this,
Right.
this survive sort of, when we get to that point of doing the report, the
Right.
changes are going to be implemented, can they go into? And so we, the solicitor.
So do you understand what the commissioner's talking about? To start looking, because I think you're gonna start wrapping around, what are the things that we can put like in the general, this is the cleanup clause, this way it makes it simple, like when we have certain things like a cleanup, it's not necessarily substantive change, we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be like, okay, what I mean, it's a cleanup clause for a proposed charter change versus a, every dot and comma, and, it shouldn't be 20, it shouldn't be 72, what is it, 72 hours, it should be 48, and those all become those cleanup kind of things based on the law, right?
Absolutely. I
So-
understand the commissioner's concern not to overwhelm the voters who then say there's too many changes and they vote against it. We want changes where they can review it, make a well-informed decision, but not inundate them with, commas and grammar changes. And what we've done in the past, because I've done some research, is we've had a list of technical changes and were
Right.
introduced as technical changes. So voters don't get bogged down with, being overwhelmed, like I mentioned, with a bunch of changes, and they think there's something going on. So I understand the commissioner's concern. When the solicitor appears, we will address that on the record for you, and we'll have some insight. But I've been
It's
compiling
almost
a
like
list.
a technical change, a charter proposed change would be technical, like, I would surmise that potentially some of this is technical, because you're including, and giving it, potentially could be technical versus substantive, but we can talk about that. So I think what we're looking for is like, be the catch-all technical one, and then we'll have hopefully a couple of substantive ones where those are the.
I mean, we have some big issues
Right.
potentially. We might have an elected school board, we might have council at large.
Right,
You don't want to overwhelm the voter.
Yeah.
And with all due respect to the voter is intelligent, but they don't have the background. They're gonna walk into the voting booth and say, what the heck is this? And then we're gonna present them with too long of a list. They're either not gonna fill it out or get aggravated voting or whatever. And so, we're gonna have to figure out how to make this concise.
okay, yep, so we're gonna really need that help on that, so. So this way, when it goes to the council, I would like the report is presented to the council in that type of order, meaning it just doesn't say it's a report saying, take the, and the end from, be like, we've come up with these proposed things, this would be a technical charter change, this would be the 2 or 3 substantive one, whatever it is, and then this way it's, okay, and the council can say, okay, now I get it, versus, I don't want the report to say, section 101, we want to put put comma, and then have the council run around and try to figure out how to have the council do technical and substantive. Let's try to present it to the council so they understand it. So this is technical, get it, put it on, and then we can talk about the substantive ones, where the council, I like that one, I don't like that one, can we do this, can we change that, et cetera.
Okay, understood. That it'll be provided in that forum for you, that fashion.
And Madam Clerk, Commissioner McCleary is present. And President Hotem Espinal is present. Did I get anything? Did I get that?
And also, Mikey McLaren.
Oh, yeah, so I said Commissioner
And
McCleary.
Tiana Mitchell.
Oh, yeah, and Commissioner Shaw, okay. All right. Superintendent, do you have any other comments or questions on your section?
I do not. Thank you so much for hearing me tonight.
Commissioners, do you have anything you want to talk about in that section at this time? Commissioner, Morgan?
Changes add clarity and stability, so just want to add that in there, so we need to look at it carefully and do the research like you stated, and move forward.
Thank you. So you know the charge. You guys got a lot of work to do.
Yes, sir. It will be done.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, with that, okay, so then I guess we go on to the next section, which would be, is it Article 11? Boards and commissions, is there anything in that, charge of the state? Anything in that? No?
Wendy Nelson is also.
Superintendent, do you have anything on that one?
We have no changes. Thank you.
Okay, and then, okay, then we go back to, I guess, Article 10, now it's the section 1004, which is actually the Department of Recreation. And do we have a proposed?
Michael
anybody here for that?
Stevens could not attend, but he said he has no changes.
Does commissioners have any?
No, no, sir.
Anybody? All
I
right,
just
so,
want to state for the record that
Sure, Commissioner.
I'm vice chairman of the Recreation Advisory Board. I just want to state that for the record, there
do you see anything?
no changes.
Great, thank you. All right. Commissioner Vargas.
And these, well, can we have two council persons
On
on
Recreation Advisory Board, so if you go to section, when you read the
section
section,
one of them?
yep, it says there shall be a recreational advisory board consisting of 5 members, 3 appointed by the mayor and 2 elected by the city council. It's 5 and 2, it's 3 and 2,
Train two?
Yeah.
So we got two.
so we have 2 that the mayor has 3. There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
How's that? And it says that the 3 members, first appointed by the mayor, shall serve a term of 1 year. It does a staggering of it, right? Cool.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Ritchie,
are those appointments or could they actually be council people?
this is elected by the council.
Will
So
be
the
elected,
2 elected by the city council. So
Is that-
it could be council members, it could be,
Could be either, okay,
could
could be
be, yeah,
either,
for the
'Cause-
clarification.
yeah.
could be a coach.
Yeah.
So creation.
I see no changes in.
No. All right. That's good. No changes.
Anything else on that one? Okay, great. Next, we have, no, I already jumped to Recreation Advisory Board, which is, we jumped already to section 1005, and we just talked about that. I think we're fine with that one, right, that section? Right,
Yes.
right, and then we go to section, this is Article 11, Boards and Commissions, section 1105, Commissioners of the Dexter donation.
Almost done.
And I heard from Tracy Giron,
Can you
and,
just speak a little bit about it?
oh, I heard from
This
Tracy Giron, and she said they have no
And
changes.
who is that?
She is the designee for the mayor on the Dexter Donation Commission.
That is. And solicitor, can you, do you have a little background of the Dexter donation is? Can you tell, this charter commission what it is?
The great Ebenezer Dexter, and some of you who are from the West Broadway, West End, there's a park there named after Ebenezer Dexter. Dexter Park. It's a very nice park, and back when Ebenezer Dexter was alive, he donated a fund for the poor and needy in the city of Providence, and as well as a number of other pieces of property and whatnot. So this fund, relative to his trust, has to be distributed, and it would be dependent upon what's in the trust fund that is managed by the Board of Investments. So sometimes, in a good economy, when the investments are actually rolling in, the city can disperse funds twice a year. In a bad economy, it would probably be once a year. So the Dexter Donation Commission will, at a certain point, solicit applications from community organizations, members of the community, charitable organizations who are seeking some financial assistance. The committee will review the applications, and then there'll be a vote to determine who and what amount the individuals will get. And as I mentioned before, it's dependent upon how much funds there are available. And the treasurer is on the board. There's a number of city individuals who also assist. The mayor's on the board, or his ex officio, his appointee who had actually, I guess, mentioned there are no changes. But it's depending upon the fund, and that will be with speaking to Wainwright, our investment person, would depend upon how much and how often we provide the citizens of Providence or these organizations these much needed funds.
Commissioner, do you have any questions about these funds?
I think he clarified it excellently. I served 21 years on Dexter Branch, so did a good job to explain. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other comments or questions? Yep. Solicitor?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Montague is well versed. I think he could have gave a better presentation than I.
Oh.
Thank you.
I figured I put you on the spot. I figured I put you on the spot. Okay. So I think, do we have anything else on these items? You all good? Is it all for this evening? Sean, is that it? Any next one? All right. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions, things you want to? And I want to remind you all, there's specific ones that we kind of either haven't got to or glossed over. Make sure you have particular changes of mind. You can get them to Sean sooner than later, and then we can make sure to bring it, because eventually after we go through, we're going to do a recap and start going through and seeing what we want. So if you're thinking of things, you don't have to wait. We'll start diving into it sooner than later, okay? He is doing research on a couple issues, which you just mentioned, make sure at the school board, put them out, potentially council, super council, large positions, that kind of stuff. So we're getting some research on that kind of stuff, okay? So we're working on those aspects. All right? And if there's any other bigger substantive change you're thinking about, please give it to Sean. You can get the folks in the council office to start researching. Okay, does that make sense? So with that, did anybody else have any comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I think the only thing that I'll reiterate is that for any boards and commissions where all members are appointed by the mayor, that there are council appointees that are included in that board and commission. So, as an example of Human Relations Commission or even Building Board of Review, they're all mayoral appointments. So some, perhaps most boards and commissions have council appointees, and I'm just advocating for all boards and commissions to have council appointees.
To have some balance between the two branches of government. Yes. Solicitor, could we ask you to look at all the boards and commissions and maybe work with Sean and start doing like a readout of boards and commissions that have, council, mayor positions, whichever council position, so have mayor positions, maybe we can get a better understanding what they are, and then we can talk about it. All right?
Sure.
Would that help?
Yes.
Solicitor and Sean, could you work on that charge? Councilman Anthony.
I have to concur. I appreciate that comment. I'm particularly interested in the City Plan Commission.
So I think what we'll do is we can get a sense of the readout, because there's so many in here, and then maybe we can look at that, and by that could be a big cleanup clause, potentially. Could, potentially, I don't
Well,
know.
that could be like just one provision.
Right. that
It would
applies.
apply to all the boards instead of, you know, a
Exactly.
vote on each board.
Exactly.
Just
Because
one.
I think, was it, for example, like the board of license, right? That's all mayoral appointments,
Yes.
right? I believe, and that seems to be a board that seems to have, at the moment, there's a lot of good people on it. And like I said, there's a lot of good people that get appointed in Smith, but maybe that's something we should be looking at. I'm just using an example, I think that's what counts. So it's a little more kind of, I think, a little more,
Now, are we speaking of an actual council person or
No.
someone like, who represents?
I think we should try to make it as,
I'm advocating for appointees.
yeah. I think that's,
Right,
Right.
so Brian and I were appointees to the city planning
yeah,
commission to represent the council president. So maybe that. would
Yeah,
be an
I think that's
expansion
okay.
To have two instead of one,
right,
because, you know, Councilwoman Anthony's suggestion. Some have none.
right. No, I think that's something we can, let's find out what they are, 'cause there's so many of them, Councilwoman
And
Anthony.
it does get a little complicated because some of the appointees have to have certain experiences.
Hmm.
So that makes it a little more complicated than just a simple, council appointees as opposed to mayoral appointees.
So I'd ask Sean if you guys, you and the solicitor can, do a readout, let's see what it looks like.
I can work with the solicitor's office and the clerk's office.
Then it's okay, and then we can go from there. All right, that'd be great. Commissioners, I'll go with that. Anything else at this time? I don't see any more hands, then I guess we can have a rest of a good evening tonight, it's Wednesday. Thank you all for attending. Will, thank you for attending. Everyone be safe, be well, and think of the Ukraine. Let's have them our thoughts and prayers. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Second.
Adjourn by Commissioner Ritchie, second by Commissioner Castillo. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
Night.
and thank you, clerks. Great job as usual.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Be good, right?
Great work.